12 o'clock midnight.
program to bring you a special report.
Yo, welcome to Will and his channel, to the Mr. Girl interview. It's finally here. What can I say? A year in the making, very rare Mr. Girl Orbiter interview. What can I say? What's up, people in the chat? Hope you're all doing well today. Haven't seen Max on YouTube in a while. True. Too true. I think I'm like a minute early, right?
The main goal of the network compares.
I'm gonna turn this off. And yeah, we'll see if we can get this started, right? Just FYI chat. I most likely am not going to be reading chat whatsoever. So there's not really any hard feelings if you want to leave this chat and go to the mrgirl.tv big screen where you can actually like engage with more people in chat. It might be more fun that way. So there is that. I just wanted to let you know. I am going to go see if I can call Mr. Girl up. And we'll get this thing started. Uncivil chat time. For those of you that do stay in the chat, Rudy's here, and he will moderate the chat. So join spicy chat to talk about the interview. True. That's probably where the real conversation will be. DGG world, what a dumb thing to say. Think of it what you will. Can chat with 30 viewers here or 20 viewers on Mr. Girl's thing? Does he really only have that few viewers on the big screen? DGG world will get some good content out of this. We shall see. It's kind of the problem, isn't it? Max is always late. Are you gonna undermine and destroy Max like everyone else? No. But what I plan to do is have an actual interview with Max. I've just been kind of disappointed of like the interview performance of everybody. There's this thing about when you interview people that I think you should really try to make yourself look worse than the person that you're interviewing, for the most part. If you really want to like make sure that you're getting the real honest answers out of somebody. So I'm willing to put a little chunk of my pride aside today for this interview. Humanizing Max, not allowed. Everybody needs a little extra humanization. But kind of like my real goal, I guess I can spoil it for you guys since we're waiting, is I want to take us... I've basically watched almost every Mr. Girl video that he's ever made. At least that's posted on his website and on the Odyssey. In an effort to kind of draw a through line through his content that I think a lot of people miss, because the reality is that, you know, Mr. Girl's been making content for 5+ years at this point, And what's really strange is when, maybe it's not really strange, but when you begin to understand, the type of content that Mr. Girl has been making for literally almost his entire conscious life, you kind of start to realize that the Destiny article, the Destiny report, excuse me, had to be the Destiny report. The way it had to be presented in this way. It's almost predictable that it would have ended this way. And yeah, we're gonna get into it. I think we're gonna have a really good time. I think that this is really gonna be a Mr. Girl interview from a Mr. Girl fan, anti-fan, somewhere in the middle. Got a lot of questions that I think a lot of people that are fans of Mr. Girl are kind of curious about a wide variety of his videos, and we're just gonna interview him, and we'll see how it goes. Getting the call. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me get you all centered up here.
Okay.
I might crash and have to call you back. One sec.
Okay.
Oop, we survived. Cool.
I think you're kind of quiet. There we go.
There we go. I almost wore a very similar colored shirt. That would have been weird.
Yeah.
We all ready on your end to start?
Yeah. Yeah, you're there. You're here. Our last conversation was kind of tense.
Do you want to talk about that before I start?
No?
It was a little tense. I hope that this will be a much less tense conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we'll just start. To begin this conversation off, do you consider me an orbiter? And if so,
Yeah.
who am I orbiting?
Me.
What are the defining features of an orbiter?
I don't know. It's just a feeling.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, one, I think I said on Twitter lately that you're more of a Chud Logic orbiter.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I've always just thought of you as mine. But you can move if you want.
Are there things about like
Wait, did Chud
Destiny's...
ban you from his server?
Yeah, I'm totally kind of kicked out from that entire community
Okay,
now.
so I'm gonna say that you're a Mr. Girl orbiter.
What is it that makes Destiny orbiters Destiny orbiters?
They go on his channel. He goes on their streams. They go on his streams. They subsist mostly off of his audience. They're known mostly through their association. It's like it's like Kramer is a Seinfeld orbiter, you know? You're viewed through the lens of being a character in someone else's world. So I
Can you
think
give me 2
most
seconds while this stupid dog... So annoying. Sorry about that. Viewed through the lens.
I think most people who know you exist know you as a character in the show of Mr. Girl. And most people who know I exist know me as a character in the show of Destiny. But most people who know Destiny exists just know him as Destiny. So he's not an orbiter of anyone. You're an orbiter when your primary existence on this Earth, uh, the way you are, like your being, as perceived in the minds of everyone who knows your name, is that of a satellite orbiting somebody else.
Can someone do things to proactively stop being an orbiter?
Yeah, but you're not.
What are some
doing
of those
them.
things?
Stop talking to the person that you're orbiting. Stop talking about the person you're orbiting. Declare that you're not an orbiter. Do your own thing.
What boundaries should one try to put in place when interacting with their orbiters?
I don't think you should be friends with orbiters. I don't think you should have sex with orbiters. I think you should keep communication to a necessary level. I think some mentorship occasionally is okay, but I think it should be done very carefully and very in a hands-off way.
Are these boundaries different than the ones the creators should put? Excuse me. Are these boundaries different than the ones the creators should put in place between themselves and their fans?
Yeah, I think some more communication with orbiters than fans makes sense because you're doing business together. I think it's more of a it's a yeah, it's a business relation. I guess it is with a fan too, but it's different. The fan is the customer.
Interesting. In your Steven Crowder is Insensitive video, you tell the audience that people on both sides of the aisle aren't so different and that we should all make an effort to be on Team Truth. What are things that stop people from joining Team Truth?
People like audience members.
Just, I think people in general.
Well, I
I
think
feel
there's a
like
different motivation. Like for a content creator, you make more money if you lie, or you make more money if you pick a side. So I would assume that Steven Crowder is probably not as doggedly conservative as he makes himself out to be. But we have reason to suspect that of every political content creator, especially partisan content creators, because they're getting paid partly to be partisan. The audience has a different motivation. They're not making money from it. They're losing money from it often. But there's a safety and strength in numbers and feeling right. You know, erasing nuance can make you feel like you know what to do, and wrestling with ambivalence is really hard. So I think we're all kind of susceptible to being sold a version of reality where we only have to think about ourselves.
do you feel like you fall susceptible to that in some areas? I'm legitimately asking, like, do you have like a bias towards something that you kind of have to like check yourself on to see like if you're like leaning towards a certain direction?
I don't know. I mean, like probably like when like Ukraine and Russia. I'm like, Russia seems like the bad guy. Seems like Putin's the bad guy. And then I'm like, well, is that possible? And I'm like, Hitler was pretty bad. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it seems like Russia is the bad guy. And then you see other people and they're like, "Oh, you're brainwashed." I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know the answer. There are things I'm very one-sided on, and I don't know why. I mean, my experience of it is that I'm like, no, I'm just right. But I don't know. I think I feel safer from it having such a mix of beliefs that like I'm very conflicted about abortion. I don't know. I think in the abortion panel, I think I settled on like 16 weeks or something as my cutoff date. I'm pro-gun. I'm anti-Trump. So like having the mix of beliefs makes me feel more secure that I'm not just part of a package. I don't believe that trans women are women.
Do you think
Man,
that's
even
maybe your
in
hottest take? Oh, sorry.
the trans women aren't women.
Yeah, maybe that's your
It's
maybe
not a
your
hot
most
take.
dogmatic
But it's
belief.
only a hot take. It's only a hot take because I mostly talk to progressives. But like if you talk to conservatives, it's not a hot take at all. None of my takes are hot takes at all, really. They're just out of place. Like
I guess by hot
pedophilia
takes,
is
like not culturally accepted.
right. Like pedophilia only applies to people who are sexually attracted extensively, not exclusively, but like seriously sexually attracted to people under the age of 13. Under the age of 13. That's a very hot take. Using the regular definition of pedophilia outside of the context of like a psychology class or a psychologist's office or like talking to professionals or people who study this, if you just take that regular ass definition that's in the DSM and say it on Twitter or YouTube, it's a super hot take. So I would say that I like try to not do the code switching that other people do. Man, I'm so fucking annoyed. I shouldn't tell that story. Never mind. Okay, vaguely. No, I can't tell it. Fuck. I'd be
That's
leaking
okay.
DMs if I'd be leaking DMs if I told it. I'll just say that I've had some very annoying, like people I've tried to do content with are or like, oh, well, your views on pedophilia are like, and like I don't have special views on pedophilia. The only view that's like unique is that I'm willing to talk about it in a context where it will make me look like a pedophile if I say, you know, pedophilic things. No, if I I think a lot of what makes my content scary or provocative is just not code switching.
I think there's something. Your content's very sexual, also,
Mm,
and I think that
mm.
like people sometimes get kind of scared by that. It just like
Yeah,
instantly turns them off. Like,
or yeah, or on. But yeah,
there you go. I mean, fuck. Um, regarding the George Floyd Derek Chauvin case, uh, one of my
yeah,
favorite quotes from this thing: "The fuel that propelled a nation to a fact-finding mission was how long we are going to lock this guy up and put him in a cage." Uh, I never thought about it like
yeah.
that, but to be honest, like that's a pretty like astute analysis. I think of like the motivation that was needed to, basically pass, what I think was some pretty reasonable reforms after this
Hmm.
horrible thing. Um, do you have any ideas on how we can motivate angry or emotional people to like steer their feelings towards fixing systemic issues that isn't locking somebody up for 21 years?
Yeah, I think a norm of I tried to write about this in my report about in the last section when I was talking about Fuentes and the Holocaust and kind of my upbringing as a Jew. Because I wasn't even raised to like know I was a Jew until I was in middle school or something. And I didn't really have any conception of what that meant. I didn't know that Israel was a Jewish state until I was 18, I think. So that's not something I ever really thought about or talked about. But I did take a Holocaust class in high school. And the way my family talked about the Holocaust and the way the teacher did always gave me the lesson I always took away from it is that normal people become Nazis really easily, and that most of the Nazis were just normal people, and that if you want to stop something awful from happening, you should look in the mirror, not point the finger, because that is what being a Nazi is. It's when you point the finger at somebody else and you think, geez, the world would just be better off without those people. And people do that to Nazis or to people they think they're Nazis who are Nazis all the time. And it's the opposite of what I think we need to be doing. So the norm of like, if you see a systemic problem and you're in the system, then the first thing you need to do is think about what you are doing. Okay, there was this art model. She was about my age, a couple years younger, and I DM'd her on Facebook, and I was like, "Do you want to do a nude photo shoot?" And she was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, that sounds cool." And we're like, "Oh, what? So do you have any ideas? Yeah, we could do this, we could do that." And we're talking about poses and pictures. For nude models, it's like a fairly normal conversation, but like, pretty exciting. I think for both of us, I don't know. And then she said something. There was a news story about a gay guy getting thrown off of a roof in a Muslim country. I don't remember what country. And she was like, it's so horrible what they did here. And I was like, I think of it more as what we did. And she was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not homophobic." And I was like, "Well, we're all like, yeah, I'm not saying we literally threw the gay person off the roof, but I'm just saying it's something that we're all part of. Like, this is like what humanity does. We throw gay people off roofs. And if you can't, even if you're not explicitly homophobic yourself, if you can't own your complicity in that, then I don't think you can really speak out against it. And I think that there's so much like self-righteousness, and like there is a place for indignant anger, but I think it needs to be coupled with reflection. And so when you're out there dressed all in black, throwing rocks at police officers at a protest, you're just so fucking smug. Like there's no self-awareness of what you are doing and what you have done in your life to contribute to a system where somebody gets their neck kneeled on for 9 minutes and dies. There's like no interest in introspection there. So I think we need to just set like a norm of, and I don't really know how to do that, but a norm of introspecting about your own part in the system that is, I don't know, producing the abuse or negative outcomes that you're complaining about.
How do you get the people throwing the people off roofs to introspect in themselves about like how that might be terrible?
There's nothing more gay than throwing a gay person off of a roof.
Damn,
So
I know, like
you,
gang up on
you
them,
make fun
like
of them. Yeah. Well, those are fanatics. So I don't know how easy it is to get them to introspect. Oh, I do know. It's very hard. I think that the people who are more likely to be among the first to introspect would be the bystanders. Not necessarily cheering, not necessarily condemning, just kind of watching it happen, and then thinking like, in the community who are like, "Oh, that's real. I don't know if I would go that far to throw them off of a roof." But it's like, no, if you're standing there and you're not doing anything about it, you did go that far. You're part of it. I think
true.
conflicted bystanders would be my first kind of target for asking them to introspect.
Okay. And TikTok is grooming your kids. You make a claim that the creators of TikTok are sneaking in the premise that it is safe for kids to be here by publicly stating in the TOS that they don't allow sexual, violent, or dangerous content on their platform. You contrast this with the things that you have seen on the platform that don't break TOS but should raise serious red flags. Yeah, I agree with your analysis, but I admit that there's something that I never really like. It's really hard, I think, for people to like see these premises that are snuck in by people, by big companies. And I personally think that you kind of have like an acute ability to read the subtext that goes over the majority of people's heads. And I was curious if there was something that maybe led you to developing that skill.
One thing that comes to mind is my father telling me everything the therapist says and everything the patient says is also about something that is going on in the room.
Okay.
And so you can extrapolate that out to all conversations. So everything either one of us says about anything else, you could also transpose it and make it a metaphor about what is going on between you and me as we're talking.
Do you think about that all the time in every conversation you have?
No, I think about that in really delicate conversations, like when I was talking to Pie Man. I think about it when I have a lot of power over somebody else and I'm trying to be careful with them. Like when I talk to Lav. Those are conversations where I'm thinking about what implications am I making with what I'm saying? What implications is she making? I'm trying to track. And like I think I bring it up like in those streams. I think there's a few times where I say like, "Do you think this about me?" You know, I'll say it in a kind of more blunt way, but so I think that and yeah, and my family like the kind of emphasis on behavior, analyzing behavior. So if somebody's intent and meaning and their effect on other people is through their behavior, not through self-reporting, then self-reporting becomes kind of just a representation of what they wish they were doing. So somebody says like, I'm gonna stop having sex with guys who don't respect me. You don't need to know anything about the person to be like, no, you're not. The odds that that statement you just made are true are very low. You wish that you were saying this is what you wish were happening. And almost by saying that you wish it were happening, really what you're saying is you're going to keep doing it. It almost has the opposite meaning of itself, even totally devoid of context. So I think that part of that, my brain is always thinking like, okay, what is the person doing? And then contrasting it with what they're saying. Or you see that like when I talk to Wick, where Wick thinks repeatedly saying he's doing something will have the effect on me of making me think it is happening, but it has no effect. If anything, it has the opposite effect.
Because you were waiting for the action versus what he was saying.
Yeah, you don't have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I'm accusing him of asking loaded questions that are setting me up to look crazy.
You're being farmed.
Yeah, I'm accusing him of farming me, and you could immediately stop. You could anytime he wants, he could just say like, "Whoa, okay. Let me ask you a different question then. Whether you're right or not, I don't want you to think I'm farming you. So let me ask you this question, which, no one would ever think is farming you. How did you feel while you were writing the report? What was like your main emotion? You know, you could just literally do anything other than say, "Well, I think I've been Max, I think I've been really good faith here. I've been very straightforward and honest with you." Like just don't do that.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then a number
liars,
of
the first thing they try to do is get them to believe that you're honest. Look how honest I am. Look at this.
Yeah.
And then those people are always the scummiest fucking liars. Like,
Yeah, well, people say that about me too. I don't think I'm a liar, but I do tell people they should trust me.
I mean, admittedly, it has the opposite effect, I'd still say, even when it comes from you, you know? Maybe even more so. Maybe you have to take your own advice on that one. Don't tell people you're honest, just show them, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't think you should. I'm not saying that because I think people are going to believe me or that they should believe me. I'm trying to think of who else I've said that to aside from Destiny.
I think you
I
do
was
a really good. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just kind of taken aback when I first met him. I was like, I feel like most people think of me as immediately trustworthy and honest. And I just thought it was very odd that he was so cagey.
I think a lot of that's like just the environment of the space, huh? It seems to me like every initial engagement.
No,
Really?
there's something. No, yeah, I think there's something really wrong with him.
Okay.
As you know.
Read the report twice.
Sure.
I could deduce that.
Yeah. Okay. So wait. So that my answer to your previous question is about subtext. That there's what TikTok is and what TikTok says it is, and those two can't be the same. Like even me saying I'm honest, I'm saying I want to believe that I'm honest. I was saying I was hurt, right? I was telling Destiny, you are reflecting something at me that I'm not used to hearing. I'm like a pretty girl being told that she's like ugly or fat or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never in my life. And then, and then I embarked on a months-long crusade to like prove that I'm honest, which, didn't work. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he thinks of me as a liar, but that yeah, what with something like TikTok, what it is going to be something insidious. It has to. I mean, it's so yeah. So when I look at it, I'm like, it's like porn for kids. They've found a way to get teenagers to make porn for each other. That's what TikTok and Instagram are. It's a way for teenagers to send each other semi-nudes without having to talk to each other or admit that that's what they're doing. And then there's a lot of like self-written context poured around that to no, it's just funny dances. It's just meme dances. It just happens to be a dance where you like put your ass 6 inches in front of the camera. It's just funny. Isn't it funny when cheerleaders fart? Isn't that just funny? Like it's like spin the bottle or like truth or dare. It's like any game where because like kids aren't going to be like, oh, you like what if we just took turns randomly kissing each other? Wouldn't that be fun? No, you have to make a context to situate the sexual thing that you're doing inside of. And that's what TikTok is. That's like the whole platform is just like that.
Yeah.
I know there are other aspects to the platform, but that's the most concerning one is like grooming kids to make sexual content. So like I'm also looking at it through that lens of like, okay, like honestly, if that's a tiny percent of what the platform is, then just cut it out. Just remove that, and then leave what's left, like people just making jokes Okay, fine. Then have it be like a comedy platform with like no sexual content. But that's not what it is.
But like technically it's not TOS, right? You know, I mean they do have a fairly strict TOS. Like my account was banned, I think, or was super flagged for a one conspiracy theory video, literally. I was like, what the fuck? So I don't know. There's something in place like to stop like the really raunchy shit. Like, do we have to add like a whole like can't talk about like my mom's vagina smell in the bathroom, segment to the TOS? Like, how do you rope shit like that in? Do you think?
I don't think they're trying to.
Okay, really? Not you don't think they're trying at all? You think they could just like take that stuff out if they wanted to?
I don't. I don't know. I don't. But I don't think they're trying to. I
Okay.
think TikTok, YouTube, Instagram are happy to host pornographic content as long as it doesn't meet a threshold of pornography, a certain definition of pornography. But I would say Instagram has a lot of content that is just pornographic. But in the TOS, there is no pornography.
I
It's
mean, content that's
plausible deniability.
right. I mean,
You
it's
could
like a
okay,
yoga teacher shit, and it's people wearing yoga pants and they're super like skin tight and shit, and
yeah, like
and
you would never see
clearly
in
it's sexual.
yeah, you would never see in TOS like on TikTok. Like if you're a 16-year-old cheerleader, you are totally welcome to show yourself shaking your ass in a thong or in your cheerleading outfit and talking about flirting with your friends' dads or having sex with your friends' dads. This is acceptable. Like you would never see them acknowledge that as like a thing that's allowed on the platform, but it is.
Does it frustrate you that like you feel like you were banned for like significantly less harsh infraction of this like sexual bullshit?
Yeah, I was banned for a video that YouTube said didn't break their TOS. They gave me a strike. I appealed the strike. They put it back up, and then they banned me for the same video 2.5 years later. It does
If I'm not
frustrate me.
mistaken, you've never like gotten a confirmation of like the. Did you get a confirmation of like the exact reason why?
That
Like, was
video,
it because a TOS change happened or like,
no, I don't know.
that sucks. I'm sorry.
Even if a TOS change happens,
Just to
wouldn't you
let you
just
know.
remove it? Yeah, just remove the content and update the TOS. Like you don't have to ban everybody who broke a new rule that you made 2 years ago. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, agreed. In the Black Lives narrative, one of my favorite videos you've
Black
made,
Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter narrative, excuse me.
Yeah.
Um, one of my there's a lot of memorable lines, but the three that I really like are the more black people complain, the more rights they get. I am sorry that you suffered a statistical anomaly, Timmy, but I'm keeping my AR-15. And it's more likely for a police officer to be killed by a black person than a black person to be killed by a cop. Why do you think the people have such a hard time rationalizing the truth? Excuse me. Why do you think the people have such a hard time rationalizing that the truth can be racist?
Um, I think I said statistics are racist, not the
Right, but
truth.
statistics are like some kind of truth, though, right? You know, like the truth, right, was that if you saw a white person on one side of the street and a black person on the other, because of the statistics, the truth is that you're safer on the side with the white guy.
Yeah.
Um, which is probably racist. Like if you cross the street, it's that thought is maybe racist.
Yeah, I mean, it's like racial profiling. Like, uh, I think that if you're running any kind of power system, country, police force, city, or whatever, you have to balance applying knowledge of statistics to the decisions you make about individuals, which I think is what the heart of racism is. It's when you say, on average, your group is 20%, 30%, 500% more likely to do X thing. So, there's just to like, sorry, you're getting lumped in with them. You're one of them. That's how you're going to be seen. That, to me, that's the heart of racism, is applying statistics to individuals. So you have to balance the corner cutting benefit of that, the time and effort it saves to just like, well, let's just focus on black men. Who are we kidding? With the freedom of the individuals, the black men that you're sworn to protect, and the rights that you're sworn to uphold on their behalf. So I don't think you can honestly navigate that. If you're a progressive, if you're going to pretend that black people don't commit more crimes than white people, you can't navigate that, because it makes the counter argument, or anyone who holds the counter view, it makes them think that you are lying and that you actually secretly agree with them. Like, if the defense of police brutality, because police are more brutal towards black people, and if the defense of that is that, well, black people are more brutal themselves, and you want to engage with that argument, you can. But to me, the counter argument is to say, even if as a group black people are more likely to commit violent crimes, that doesn't mean that each individual member of the group deserves to be treated any differently from anyone else by the police. That doesn't make any sense. That's the counter argument. But if you can't engage with it, if you say, well, that's not true, then the implied argument is they don't deserve to be brutalized because it's not true that they commit more crimes. So then somebody who thinks they do deserve police brutality will just say, oh, well, so you basically agree with me. We just can't agree on the facts. You're agreeing with their conclusion by disagreeing with the facts. You shouldn't do that. And then there's the evasion tactic where you're just like, well, there's a reason for that. Like, oh yeah, I was like, you think I was saying that black people commit more crimes for no reason, like for fun or something? Again, that, like, by avoiding just the facts, the statistics, you can't really engage in an argument about how those statistics should be ethically used by the government or by people. So you are safer crossing the street if there's a white person on one side and a black person on the other. Yeah, you're safer crossing the street to walk by the white person, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It's racist. It is racist, but it might, and what we're asking, I think, through police reform and through this whole conversation, is we're asking about the gray area of, like, if police are racist sometimes, but being racist makes them safer, we should acknowledge the enormity of what we are asking of them when we ask them not to be racist.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, you talk to the Black Lives Matter guy and you ask him, like, if your son was a police officer and, he had the choice between policing in a white neighborhood or a predominantly black neighborhood, which one, you were like, who would you tell your son to go police? And obviously, he said, well, I would obviously tell my son to go to the white area, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we're really asking people is that you should pick the black area and make the reform. Like we're gonna have to, like, take some losses to really end racism.
Yeah, but nobody wants to risk their life or the life of their son or daughter to be less racist.
So does it ever get fixed then?
I think that, yeah, I think robots will fix it, honestly. I think
Based.
once we use more drones and robots for policing, because they won't need to defend themselves. Like, eventually it will get to the point where, I think, where you can't really because like the problem is that the person who's the arbiter of like what is right and wrong is also in immediate fear of their life, like often. Um, and even when like yeah, like I think anytime a cop pulls you over, I'm sure in the back of their mind there is like this person, like I might be cornering this person into a life or death decision by just walking up to their window, and they might shoot me.
Oh yeah, I mean my buddy became a police officer like right after high school, so we're like 19 years old, and we were all sitting around, and he's like, "Yeah, guess what I saw today? Like literally 2 hours straight of cops just getting shot in the face by not approaching the sides of cars properly," and it's just like, holy fuck. And he was like, "Yeah, like they just told us that this is to like break you down and prepare you that you could pull up to any car and just get shot and killed."
Right. And so you're asking the person in that situation to because it's not just black and white. When you approach somebody or approach their car, you're making a lot of decisions about what category of person they are. Like if the cop sees a black woman driving like a mom SUV, and there's like a bunch of different kids in the back, like she's carpooling, different kids of all different races playing, and there's music, they're listening to some fucking kids music or something. You're not thinking like, well, she's still black, so I better keep my hand on my gun. So it's like black and white is just kind of like the default like groups are easiest to use as an example. But yeah, they're they're looking at like, is your car maintained? Does it look like you have too much money, like you're a drug dealer? Does it look like you're poor and thus more likely to feel cornered or desperate? Or do you have other do you have a record? What kind of record do you have? Those things are making the cop place you in different categories in their mind. And of course they're applying the statistical knowledge of those categories. Even if you have a violent record, like if you have if you murdered somebody, you served your time, that's still just a statistic. That doesn't every person who's ever murdered one person does not go on to murder more people, but it's much more likely. And so they're applying the statistical knowledge they gather about you as they walk up to the window to you. And to ask them not to do that is is a is a big ask. I'm not saying we shouldn't make it. I think we should, but we should acknowledge how much we're asking. And I just think that robots kind of solve a lot of the problem. The robot isn't going to care if you blow its head off.
True.
Yeah.
That's really terrifying in my opinion. I mean, it kind of assumes like, huge police surveillance state already more than we already have.
Why?
I
mean, police
it would be
officers have
like,
cameras anyway.
I know,
What's the
but you'd
difference?
have to think it would be just like all the drones and the little walking robots and shit would all be like hooked up on a network, and they'd all be able to like see us all at the same time. Seems
Oh,
pretty
like
scary.
every cop could see every other cop's body cam at the same time.
Definitely, if they're all robots, for sure. And yeah, they would definitely
Um,
set that up.
but you could legislate against it. You don't have to set it up that way.
Yeah.
Like it might be hard to like if you're like, well, do you want to stop rapes? Then all the cameras need to be interconnected. I don't know. Maybe voters will be like, well, fuck it then. Film us all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, price of freedom is eternal vigilance, right? Fuck. Do you know what happened to
Yeah.
Brittany and her boyfriend after you told him not to contact anyone after you saw the video in the Black Lives Matter narrative?
Oh. Uh, yeah, but I forgot actually. I did know what happened, but I don't remember now.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
Wait, you
Fair.
didn't look it up?
No, I didn't. I was curious if you knew what happened. Like if you had kept up on the story, if you were you sounded very
I can't.
passionate while you were talking about it, so I was just curious if you
I
looked into it.
was. I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
Somebody DM'd me or emailed me and was like, just so you know. I think somebody DM'd me on Twitter and was like, just so you know, here's what happened. But I don't remember.
Sure.
I want to say the charges were dropped.
But they didn't get paid out.
I don't know.
Well, if you ever find out, let me know. Just out of curiosity's sake.
We could just Google it.
You can like look up her name and stuff. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Okay.
Do you still believe the nuke wouldn't unite the United States?
Hmm?
Do you still believe that a nuclear bomb wouldn't unite the United States?
Oh, after COVID? Yeah, I don't. You wouldn't even you wouldn't you wouldn't even be able to convince 30% of the country that the nuke had even happened. Yeah, I don't think a nuke would unite the United States.
Could anything unite the United States? Like a mass event.
No. Social media will prevent that.
So you think like 9/11 was kind of the last weird nationalistic moment we're gonna have?
Yeah, because it united the news networks. That's why. It united the drip feed of addictive content, the 24-hour news cycle. But now there's always some. Have you seen Contagion?
No.
Anybody who's interested, well, it's a Steven Soderbergh movie. Soderbergh? I don't know how to say his name. He, he directed like Ocean's 11,
Oh, I like
12,
those
and
movies.
13. Yeah, he's a good director. Jude Law plays a character in it who is like a vlogger pushing a bullshit cure for this pandemic. It's a lot like COVID, but it's a really deadly respiratory infection. But except I think it has like a 20% kill rate or something. So it's like super deadly. And it kind of unfurls the same way that COVID did. But yeah, there's this character who is just like a total like grifter, and I just think that now that that exists, there's always going to be. If people could just make their own TV stations after 9/11, I think the same thing would have happened then, and eventually did. Now,
True.
what percentage of kids don't even believe 9/11 happened now because there's somebody to tell them, or like they don't even, there's like flat earthers now. Like people fucking, if there's money to be made by creating an alternate take, somebody will create it, and then some audience will buy into it, wanting to believe that they know the real truth.
Have you heard
So as
sorry.
long as that's happening, I have I heard what?
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that trees don't exist and that what we have right now is trees or just bushes? That's my favorite really stupid conspiracy theory. In The Monster, you discuss some things that happened in your childhood. You discuss your mother divorcing you.
I was never married to my mother.
Excuse me. You discuss your mother divorcing your dad for a woman named Carol.
Yeah.
And basically how like every little thing that you said or did was scrutinized for latent sexism or homophobia. And how even at a young age, you were living in an extremely left-wing household that literally demonized Republicans as evil.
Two left-wing households, but yeah.
Because your dad's was left-wing as well. Even at a young age, you didn't believe that Republicans could possibly be as bad as they were described to you by them.
No, I would argue with my mother a lot. She would always talk about how stupid Bush was. I'd be like,
do you still think Bush is stupid?
I didn't think Bush was stupid then. I would be like, you're just saying that because he has like a southern accent? Like he's obviously not stupid. Like maybe he's not as smart as other presidents, but he's not stupid. That doesn't make any sense. I would get really irritated with her. And she'd say the way he talks is just so like simplistic, and I'd be like, well, that's also like what is hasn't that helped him a lot? I think people want to feel like he's talking to them. So I don't know if I believe that he's like unable to communicate in a different way. I think that's part of his charm, is people like that about him. I don't think calling him stupid based on that makes any sense.
Do you think Donald Trump is stupid?
No.
No.
I think he's ill. I don't think he's stupid though.
How did these interactions growing up with Carol and your mother influence how you see the world?
It's kind of like when you grow up super Catholic and strict, and then you're just like blowing guys at college and doing coke like a year later. I think I grew up hyper partisan, and it made me, I rebelled with nuance. I think it just made me think like, maybe we should hear them out, guys.
Has it influenced your rhetoric or the way that you speak with people?
uh Anybody can speak conservative. It's like Bush. It's a simple language. It's a pretty straightforward language. Progressive is not so straightforward. And if you don't speak it, they will know you don't speak it. And if you don't speak it, you're offending people. You're pissing them off. You're signaling that you're in the out group, maybe that you're an adversary.
Do you think that creates extra
like
buy-in
if
you're
you
progressive?
I'm not fucking done. If you write trans woman without a space on Twitter, someone will call you out. Trans woman, not trans woman. You got to know this shit. And I grew up learning all of it. And I learned how to learn it. I am still fluent. I still keep up very easily. I you know, that conservatives find that really annoying. But I think growing up speaking this language and understanding how the language itself is the political group. Progressivism is a language. And speaking it is almost more important than believing any associated belief or holding any kind of position. And you signal your status by speaking it and how well you speak it. And then the best thing is when you invent a new thing. That's hard to do, but people do it all the time. And then when you invent a new word or a new way to speak the language or a new rule of how to speak the language, then all the other people everybody's playing musical chairs trying to learn how to speak it before you or become the dreaded oppressor. It's a game. And I got a big head start. My mother told me gender was a social construct when I was 13 in 1998.
It's pretty wild.
And yeah. I said this in the video, but my ex-girlfriend produced the vagina monologues as her senior play. Our senior play was supposed to be West Side Story, but it was canceled for being too racist.
It's a pretty left-wing school.
Yeah. I wrote an issue in my newsletter called the Special Vagina Edition. And I And around the title, I had my friend draw a big tuft of pubic hair, big mons, and I didn't get in any trouble for that one. And the whole thing was just about vagina. I was like, "Will you write an essay about your relationship with your vagina?" We were 17, and she was the babysitter of the high school principal's kids. And I got her to write an essay about her relationship with her vagina. And I think he was like, "Did Max pressure you into doing this?" And she was like, "No." And he was like, "I'm very worried about you. This is really disappointing." Yeah. I think she kept babysitting his kids after that, though. I don't think she got fired.
You were suspended 4 times for writing this newsletter.
Yeah. Yeah.
For writing this newsletter.
Yeah.
At one point, the ACLU even came to your aid, which I think is a pretty cool little extra sauce on the story. How many people
Yeah.
can say that they've had them come and like defend them? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there is an ACLU lawyer in Northampton, a nearby town, named Bill Newman. And he wrote letters to the school. Every time I'd get suspended, he wrote a letter to the school explaining why they could suspend me. And then they would overturn the suspension retroactively. So I got suspended 4 times. I would serve it, usually 3 days to a week out of school. And then he would write them a letter, and then they would bring me into the office and say, "We're overturning your suspension," every time. Yeah.
Got little mini vacations.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. I hated school. So I think the last time they gave me in school, I was like, okay, this is far worse, but like, I'm not going to stop. So, and you overturn them every time. I was very embarrassed for them. It was pathetic.
It's like the 4th time they're like, "We got him this time." Nope. Overturned.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think they're just cowards. They just didn't want to tell the parents, like, "Hey, there's nothing we can do," because they would get complaints from parents. They're like, "Why is our daughter reading this newsletter about how her classmate masturbates so much? Why is this being handed out in the lunchroom?" And they'd be like, "Oh, well, we'll suspend him." Then they suspend me, and then they're like, "Oh, well, our hands are tied. We have to overturn the suspension because the ACLU." They're just doing whatever the fuck anybody wanted them to. They're like YouTube. It's the same shit. YouTube's like, "Oh my god, he's a pedophile." Oh, I guess maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not a pedophile. Or maybe he doesn't break TOS. Oh, we'll unban him. It's just bureaucracy, man.
Do you think it would have been treated differently in a right-wing school?
No.
Like, you think you would have gotten the same amount of hate for writing the exact same articles?
I would have been banned for different. The vagina edition probably would have gotten me suspended. I masturbate so much that probably get me suspended by either one or the others. I said "fuck you" to my mother, and I got suspended for profanity. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you suspend people for saying "fuck" in school? Like, no, you don't. That's stupid. That's a lie. You just made that up. And then the first one was I sexually harassed the principal, who quit because he was outed as a child molester, and I made fun of him, and I said if I'd known he was a child molester when I started dating him, I would have broken up with him, or I never would have started dating him in the first place. I got suspended for obscenity. Thank you. I got suspended for obscenity for saying that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's pretty edgy. It's edgy. I don't think it's suspend worthy though. I mean, and it's creative.
It's a public school. Nothing is suspend worthy.
Nothing is suspend worthy.
I mean, unless you're like breaking the law.
I mean, if I beat somebody up, I shouldn't be suspended.
No. If you like write a death threat to somebody.
Okay. Just being do you think just being extremely vulgar shouldn't be a reason to be suspended?
It's not that it shouldn't. It can't be. It isn't. No.
Really?
Well, what do you mean
Okay.
by vulgar? Like, there's an obscenity law. So if you write porn and hand it out in a school, then yeah, that's not protected speech. But if
I
you,
see.
um,
True.
oh, one of the ones I got suspended for was me saying that I want to have sex with my friend, and I was like, the principal's name was Mr. Worley. I said, I want to be Mrs. Worley, and I want you to be Mr. Worley. And I said, the co-principal's name was Mrs. Hannigan. I said, I want to be Ms. Hannigan's mouth, and I want you to be Ms. Hannigan's toothbrush. They overturned that suspension. Like, no, you're allowed to make sex jokes about kids. You can make sex jokes about your principal if you go to a public school, as long as it's not obscene. But to be obscene, it has to lack all artistic, political, social commentary value and scientific value. So
So
it has
do
to
good in
literally be.
English before you do it.
Yeah, it has to be not porn. You can't write porn, but you can. Yeah, you can make vulgar jokes or comments. You can swear. Yeah, they can't legally. They can't suspend you for that. They will suspend you, but you'll have a basis for fighting that in court, should you so choose.
After these suspensions, you come to realize that it doesn't matter what you wrote. What matters is what one person or two people said you wrote. And then from there, if anyone contradicts them, then they're racist. And if anyone contradicts them, then they're racist. And it just expands into this circle of people that don't want to stand up for you. Do you still feel that this is true?
Yeah. The XQC today just said on stream that I'm ontologically evil.
XQC? You got the XQC
Yeah.
shout out. Wow.
Yeah, he said he said he's so sick that I would disagree with him no matter what, even if I was wrong. Something like that. Yeah, it doesn't matter what he did. He didn't read the fucking report. Absolutely
Definitely
not.
not.
Definitely not. Definitely like you don't even know what you're talking about. So it's just that. It's just yeah. Somebody I make a cuties review, which I'm really proud of. Somebody says, "Oh, he says he's a pedo who's attracted to kids." And then at that point, if you are like, "Well, that's not really what he's saying," then you're also a pedophile. Pedophilia is one of the stickiest accusations now. So it's dangerous to even say that somebody isn't a pedophile. And then in Destiny's world, a different version of that is happening now, where if you defend me or even clarifying something I said, then you can be lumped in with the bad people.
You finish the video with the sentence, "You don't hate the cops, the conservatives, or the liberals. You hate the monster." I believe that the monster here represents like an all-consuming doctrine, not really based on logic or facts, but just like partisan mob mentality. What do you think the monster is?
I agree with you.
Bonus question, what does the monster from It turn into when it sees you?
Me?
Yeah, you personally. You see the monster from It, what does it turn into?
My mother.
Is it possible to slay such a monster such as this partisan mob mentality? And if so, like what are some of the first steps that people can take to start battling it?
I'm pretty stuck on his social media thing, so
Do we ever I completely empathize and understand what you mean when you say that. Like I mean, when I have a kid, like that homie is not getting an iPad when they're a kid. Like they're not gonna have social media until they're at least middle school minimum. But like how do we put this back in the box? I just feel like we're kind of fucked. Social media's here to stay.
Okay,
Sorry.
I think there's hope. Can you imagine 100 years from now, a little boy is reading his history book, and he reads, in the years 2000 to 2040, it was of very high social importance to receive a large number of likes when making public statements. Likes were denoted with a little red heart shape that would go when you tapped it, and then there was a number next to it, and the number would increase. And people found this so valuable that they were willing to do pretty much anything to make that number go up. They were willing to lie. They were willing to backstab each other, destroy relationships. They were willing to sacrifice, to risk their lives. People were falling off cliffs and waterfalls just trying to get a picture that might get an extra 1,000 likes. And this little kid's reading it, and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I can imagine that. I don't know how to get there, but I can't imagine it. So I do have hope.
Hope so too. I don't know if I agree, but I hope so too, honestly.
Well, I think sometimes I'm like checking a subreddit or Twitter or checking like my stream numbers, and I think like I try to imagine if I had a kid right now, and I imagine them looking at me as I'm like refreshing like Twitter, like did anybody respond to my tweet, and imagine them being like, you're disgusting, you're not a father, you're pathetic. And I'm like, oh my god. And then I put my phone down. I think maybe the kids of Gen Z will be like, this is really embarrassing and sad. You guys are pathetic.
They'll want to do the opposite of what their parents do, maybe.
And then I think they just will be like, I don't get it. Like they'll get it, but they'll be like, it's just. I think individual streaming sites and content sites are cool, obviously, because I keep getting banned, but like I feel like there could be hope there. A kind of old-fashioned style of navigating the internet. We tried it. We tried aggregated content with algorithms and ads, and it's terrible. It's super convenient. You can conveniently get to anywhere that you don't want to go instantly.
I think I reject that it's terrible.
It's
Like, I mean, it has its negative benefits, but don't you feel like you've seen like such amazing things because the algorithm was able to show it to you, like stuff that you never would have found otherwise?
No, I miss Newgrounds.
Really?
Sickanimation.com. David Firth.
Used to do funny junk back in the day when that was just a regular web page, not the, bullshit that it turned into eventually.
Homestar Runner.
Oh, that's a classic.
I liked it when shit was discovered. When it was a feeling of it was magical. It's like watching someone do a fatality in Mortal Kombat 1. And you're like somebody's getting their head you're like, what did you do? They're like, I don't know what I did. There's magical. Now anything subversive is controlled opposition. Anything truly subversive has been sniffed out by the robot and destroyed. And if you're not allowed to be subversive or controversial, then non-controversial content loses all of its meaning too. Because then you're like, well, how do I know this is really what you want to say?
I feel like the one thing that at least gives me hope on like the video front is that I never would have thought that Rumble would have gotten as popular as it did. But like it seems like it's I don't know like what the money end of it really is on your side, but like it at least seems like the viewers are there, you know? And that's kind of cool. Like maybe, 5-10 years down the line that'll be, a robot that's doing what you're saying, right? But at least maybe it'll be a little more laissez-faire.
I think there needs to be more sites.
More sites.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Girl's gonna start streaming to 10 different websites. Would you do that?
Sure. I already streamed of like 4 or 5 or something.
Interesting. In the video, how I learned to stop hitting women. You say abusive people are abusive, not stupid. You need to take the uncomfortable step of empathizing with them to see what's really going on there.
Yeah.
Does this line of thinking apply to all forms and styles of abuse?
Yeah.
Who do you think are the hardest abusers to empathize with?
Child abusers.
Anyone else you'd put up there? Or is that its own, like, separate category?
No, I think that's its own separate category.
Probably right. At what point must empathy become condemnation?
They don't have to conflict with each other. So never.
Should I always feel empathy for someone that I condemn?
Yeah. I would say that condemning without empathy is a dangerous thing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna stand up. Oh wait, I gotta switch my thingy.
No
Okay,
worries.
is that the other camera?
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you shoot with your cameras? What cameras do you use?
This is a BMPCC 4K,
Classic.
and the other is a GH5S.
That's a really good pair.
Thanks.
We are all centrists. The only real Democrats or Republicans are the ones who hold office or who used to hold office, but the rest of us are independents. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah. When you align yourself with a party, you are necessarily lying about yourself. There's no one who even the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, neither is a perfectly coherent set of values. So when you say you're in one of them, you are necessarily making a false statement about your own beliefs. You could say you like them, and you can say, okay, saying I am a Democrat just means I mostly agree with them. That's fine. But the point of my statement is to get you to think about the idea that when you're a member of a ideological group, you aren't actually like that group. You don't really align with them. And one way to loosen up some of the partisanship is to focus on that and to be a centrist, meaning that you hold different beliefs from different groups.
Another favorite video of mine was this one where you told 3 stories And I kind of wish I knew what the title of the video is called. I just called it Murky Territory. Basically, it's the first story is about the college class that you took where you conduct a study. And basically, you picked 4 of your women friends. And you took pictures of them and you put them on the board. And the premise was you're going to go around and ask people, who would you rape out of these 4 people? And there's a funny story where, you're talking to your professor about it. And your professor is like, you can't ask people who would they rape. You ask them who do they think would be the most likely to be raped. And then what they'll tell you is the person who they think is the most likely to be raped.
No,
Absolutely.
He said they'll tell. No, he said they'll tell you the person that they would rape.
Right. Okay. True.
Yes.
Fair
So
distinction.
that's a good example of the using the subtext and the context being different, or the text and the subtext being different, where the person says, "Oh, this is a normal question to answer. Yeah, who am I concerned about being raped?" But like, where the interviewer, as like a psych student, is thinking like, "Okay, you're telling me who you would rape." Obviously. Yeah.
So that was hilarious. But then you're discussing this with your women friends, and they're explaining to you how they hoped that they would be the ones to be picked to be raped.
Yeah.
But how that was a horrifying but also real thought that they had.
Yeah.
So that's the first story.
Yeah, the person who came in last place was very sad.
It kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense. The second story was about how you tried to convince a woman that her dating methods in her life were creating a scenario where the only people that would make it past her filter would be men that would be willing to push past her boundaries. Do you think that's pretty fair?
Yeah.
The woman comes to your work one day looking like she'd been run over by a car, black and blue all over. She states that she was hit over the head with a brick, and after kicking the assailant in the balls, he ran away, all happening in a span of about 5 minutes. You talk to her in an attempt to get her to realize the gravitas of the situation. You ask her if she had been to the doctor after going to the ER to receive additional care that she, without a shadow of a doubt, needed after getting a head wound, and also suggested that she see a therapist. She declined both, but accepted to get frozen yogurt with you, where you gently continued to try and convince her to go to a doctor. A week later, the woman returns to where you're working and shares that her bottom region is hurting, and you now push gently but firmly that it is now time to go to the hospital. Sometime after this, a new revelation is made. It turns out that after she looked at the entire police report, she had not been in the alley for 5 minutes, but it was actually 45 minutes, and that she was found unconscious in the alley by someone and was taken to the hospital. In this story, you're one of the few people around you that seem to have responded and reacted in a way that was appropriate to the level of seriousness that was taking place. Every person that was working in the office around you were either making jokes or trying to make light of the situation. You finished... Sorry.
No. Never mind.
It was a gym?
Keep going.
Anyways, you finished the story by saying...
It wasn't an office.
I'm sorry. My bad. Where was it? Can you say? Was it a gym or what?
I shouldn't say.
Okay. It's an office. Fuck it.
No, it's not an office. It's not an office. I'll say that.
You finished the
I
story
think people
by
in an
saying...
office would have
For sure.
handled it better.
Oh, okay, fair. That's why you make the distinction. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You finished the story by saying, "You might think I'm creepy, but if you tell me you were raped in an alley, I know what to say." What prepared you for this moment to know what to say at this time?
I think it's the context thing. I think if you took a lot of those same people and you put them in an office, they would have handled it much more appropriately. But the norms of a system. My friend in that class, who I did the rape study with, said if you tell me everything about you, your childhood, your hopes and dreams, everything, versus just telling me that you're in a movie theater, I can predict how you're behaving 99% accurately just knowing that you're watching a movie in a movie theater. And his point was that we underestimate the importance of social influences on our behavior. And I think that for whatever reason, am willing to break social norms in a way that a lot of people find uncomfortable and weird and gross and scary. But I think to others, it's very helpful and makes them feel like somebody sees them when the social situation dictates that everybody pretend they're invisible.
It's like I personally think I'm kind of a compassionate guy. I don't even know if I don't think that I would have known what to say to this person necessarily if I was you in this situation. Uh I don't think I would have made like the weird jokes that the other people were making, but do you feel like there was anything in your life that made you uniquely more able to like assess the situation and be like this person is in like this panic mode, uh you know, and we should just at least go out and get some yogurt and see what we can do?
I think that people just get a sense from talking to me that I'm not going to get uncomfortable and leave, or get uncomfortable and make jokes. I think it's a tolerance thing. Yeah, all my life, I've always been you know, one of the people since like middle school that people will tell like, I'm getting molested, or like, I had sex, I tried to kill myself, I'm doing drugs, my friend's doing drugs. I think she probably thought that that a lot of people, they want to be helpful, but when you're telling them about a traumatic event, they freak out and they need you to take care of them. And I think that, man, like my when my ex-wife left me, the number of people who wanted to say some platitude to make themselves feel better while talking to me, it was so annoying. And it's like way worse when like somebody dies or somebody gets raped. Everybody wants to be helpful, but they can't. They can't really make space for how bad you feel. And it ends up with the victim reassuring and caretaking everybody else. So I think I just signaled to her like, for I'm not. You tell me you were beaten and raped, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh my God. Because when you do that, you're off gassing you're just talking about yourself. You're making the situation about yourself. You're just off gassing all of your discomfort and anxiety. And then what does that leave the victim to do? To be like, oh, well, yeah, it's rough. Well, I'll be okay. I'll get over it. So I think she appreciated like somebody taking it more seriously than she was.
I think you were you were giving really sound advice too, obviously, to anyone that had gone through something like that.
Yeah, if you want to provide emotional support to somebody. Oh, you mean I was giving sound advice to her?
Well, yeah, I mean, just to literally be like, hello, you just got hit in the head. Like, the ER is not there they're just there to make sure you're alive. Like, you still need to go to a doctor. Like, she probably didn't have anybody in her life that had enough awareness, just to be like, you need to go to a fucking doctor, Like,
yeah,
you were able to be that person. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The third story was about a time in college where a female friend of yours came up to you and said that a man in your local friend group had raped her. You saw that a second woman was flirting around with that man, and you pulled her aside to let her know what the first woman had said about him raping her. The second woman then pulls you even further aside and says, "Sweet little boy, you have a lot to learn about women." What? First of all, this is just such a great story to wrap up after the second story and how fucking potent it is. But my question to you is, what is the most important thing that you have learned about women since she pulled you aside?
I said that she said that to me?
Yeah.
She pulled you aside. If I said that happened, then I don't know. I believe that is true, but I don't remember saying it.
Well, regardless,
I thought I was saying that to myself.
No, in the story you say that she looks at you and says, "Sweet little boy, you have a lot to learn about women," and then walks away to go back to flirting with the guy. If I'm not, maybe I totally misinterpreted the story, but I'm pretty.
Maybe I was saying that's like what, like the meaning of what she said to me. I remember saying that in a video. I don't remember her actually saying that to me. I think I was like summarizing what she said. Okay. I don't know. I haven't watched the video or thought about that story since I made the video, so I don't know. But anyway, that was and that's definitely the impression I got from I think I just remember her saying like, "Oh, like I appreciate you looking out for me. That's very nice of you." But just this look on her face of like, what's your problem? But I don't remember her literally saying that.
Since all of these strange, maybe not strange, just different encounters with women throughout your life, what is the most important thing that you've learned about women?
I don't know. The most important, I don't think I could say there is one most important thing. But I think in the story you just told, I had this view of women as they're all progressive. They're all they're a team. They're really focused on consent. If one woman accuses a guy of raping her, then this is very serious, and they would all, react appropriately and accordingly. Almost like they're a hive mind of good-natured pro-consent like collaboration with each other. Feminists. They're all feminists. I thought they were all feminists. And I think in that story, she was like, she didn't say this, but the impression was like, yeah, I don't believe that bitch. And even if I did, I wouldn't give a fuck. It never occurred. I was like, listen, this is a big deal. I don't know. I mean, like, you see me do this with the Destiny Report all the time, where I'm like, listen, this is a huge deal. And then everybody's like, either I don't believe you, or I have been paid not to believe you, or I'm too much of a coward, or I do believe you, but I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Nobody cares, Max. Nobody cares. The thing is the way it is for a reason. We don't care. Nobody cares. I thought, yeah. I when I was young, I used to think that everybody cared when a woman got raped, and then I thought, oh well, at least women care when a woman gets raped, and then now I know nobody cares. That's what I learned. It's fine if she doesn't believe the other girl, but like she didn't. There wasn't even a hiccup in like I should ask him about this or anything. It was just like I just remember looking at her butt in her pajama bottoms. She would wear pajama bottoms around all the time, and I just remember watching her walk away and being like, "Wow."
For me, I just feel like the through line is that like that's like the story that technically takes place either the earliest or second earliest in your life of the three.
It's the earliest. I was 18.
It's kind of interesting to me that it's kind of like the woman in the second story, in a way, had the same mentality as this woman in the third story. Like the way that the men that she was trying to attract would be the men that would be the most willing to push past her barriers still.
Kind of. This woman wasn't like playing hard to get though. So that was different. Because the second story, I was more warning her like, she was asking me for advice on like how to hit on guys. And I was like, there was like a guy she liked, and I was like, "Have you talked to him?" And she was like, "No." And just describing like when she would try to get his attention, she would like have her headphones in. And I was like, "Listen, the kind of guy that like sees you doing something else and having headphones in and comes up to you and is like, 'Hey, take your headphones out. I want to talk to you.'" There's like a lot of you're filtering out a lot of like normal, non-aggressive people by making them jump through that hoop.
Completely.
And like I feel like you don't understand that you're doing that. And it's normal or common for some amount of women wanting you to do a little extra something. Be confident. But rape is the pinnacle of confidence. So if you're the more confidence that you want, the more rapey the person is going to be. And like a progressive liberal feminist like me, I'm like, I ain't going over to your fucking table. I'm not interrupting your conversation with your friends. I'm not telling you to take your headphones out. Like if I'm looking for a relation, I mean like, I don't know. I guess I did fucking do that with Shaylin ghosting me like 3 times when we first started talking. Well, look where that got her.
Damn.
My point is that yeah, there's something sexy about a confident, dominant, controlling man, but there's also something kind of terrifying about it.
Reckless was the first video that you made after becoming a streamer.
Oh wait, can I tell one other story?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I've told this story before, but I just this also happened around the same time as the rape thing was in my dorm at Colorado State. There was a girl in one of my classes who I was like, she's kind of cute, but I had a girlfriend. My girlfriend was still back home in Massachusetts. And we would write each other letters, talk on the phone, send each other audio cassette tapes, kept in touch. This was in like 2004.
Cassette tapes in 2004?
Yeah. It was romantic, dude. Okay. We'd mail it back and forth.
Oh, you were rewriting onto the tape a new little song every. Oh,
no,
that's
no,
kinda
no,
cute,
not
actually.
rewriting, but just like adding to it.
Right, adding onto the tape.
Yeah. Okay.
That was cute.
Yeah. So, we would have worked out our boundaries. We were monogamous, but still, in college, stuff happens. Confusing situations. So, like, these two girls invited me and like a bunch of Christian guys. Everybody in the fucking hall. I mean, my dorm hall was Christian, and I was like, I felt like I was on a different planet. They invite us to this hot tub, and one of them has a fresh Samantha bottle, strawberry banana. She's deep throating it to like show how good she is at it. And I was like, God damn. And then we get in the hot tub and they're like, do you guys want to see our tits? And I was like, I can't. I have to look away. I have a girlfriend. I don't know. And then I called her. I was like, listen, I don't know what to do with I don't know how to handle these situations. Am I allowed to look at their tits? And she was like, yeah, if somebody flashes you, you can look at their breasts. And I was like, okay, good. Got it. So then this girl in my class, I don't remember what class it was. It was like kind of sociology thing. Anyway, she asked me to do a project with her. And I was like, yeah, she's kind of cute. And like, we're kind of friendly. And I was like, she seems nice. This will be fun doing the project with her. And then she was like, where do you want to meet? I was like, let's meet at the dining hall in my dorm. Because she had like a nearby dorm. And she's like, okay. So we get there and then she was like, can we use your computer for this actually? And I was like, sure. So we go to my dorm room. And we're alone there. My roommate's not there. This was before he moved out. But that's a different story. I'm like sitting at the computer and she's like, what's this? What's this pictures folder? And I was like, don't open that. And she starts like clicking through to my pictures. And I was like, stop, because it was like a digital camera. And then you'd have to like import it in the computer. And I was like, stop. And she was like, what's in there? And I was like, naked pictures I send to my girlfriend. Okay. And she was like, can I see one? And I was like, no. And she was like, is it small? And I was like, no. And she was like, can I see it? And I was like, no. And then she tried to sit on my lap to like look at the pictures, and I pushed her off. And she was like, just show it to me for 1 second. And I was like, I think we should go back to the dining hall. But even like throughout that interaction, like for most of it, I like didn't understand. Even afterward, I was like, wow, she really wanted to see my dick. Like I didn't understand that like she was trying to have sex with me until like years later. Okay, that's it.
What should I take away from that story?
That sometimes women are a lot like men.
Oh, I see. Yeah, true.
Sometimes they don't care about consent. Or, they can be pushy. But she was pretending she wasn't. Like, if she had been like, can we go to your dorm room so I can suck your fucking dick, dude? I would have been like, no. She was trying to trick me.
There was some game.
Yeah.
Yeah. She tried to game you.
It was all a pretense. And then I was like, you're not cute. You're fucking ugly on the inside. I kind of hated her after that.
You hated her after that?
Yeah.
Seems like a bit
I
much.
did.
She was just trying to have at you.
Then fucking tell me you want to ask me on a date. Don't ask me to do a project, because now I'm stuck doing this project with you. And you're all like you're all like fucking rapey and weird toward me. No, I didn't like it. Like forcing yourself onto my lap and trying to pressure me into showing you my dick. Like it was gross. It
If the
grossed me
roles
out.
were reversed, I mean that's like mega rape, mega cancelable rape, or sexual assault.
Yeah, well, I'm like, also, I'm like, how many fucking guy have you fucked every guy in the class? Like, you don't even know me. You don't, you'd like, yeah, I think I'm special enough that somebody should want to rape me, but I don't know that you know that. I feel like you just are just throwing your, like, I don't know. It seems like sociopathic. It just freaked me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reckless was the first video that you made after becoming a streamer.
Yeah.
Was the process of making Reckless different from the other projects that you had worked on before?
Uh, Usually I don't interview people, so that's different, but no, not really.
Like as far as like creation, research,
Well, the research was easy because the relationship just spanned. I mean, the Recful Dr. K relationship just spanned 5 sessions, 6 sessions. They're all publicly available. And then I emailed probably 50 experts asking if they would be willing to speak generally about therapy ethics, but with the knowledge that it would be used in a documentary about this relationship between these two people, which I showed them.
I've noticed that I mean you have like 5 years worth of content to go through. Your content,
Yeah.
you know, there's like a growth to the content, but you're right. Like the Reckless, I when I first started watching your content after you know you started talking to Destiny and whatnot, you know, and then I was following along for the Reckless arc and whatever. I guess I wasn't really 100% aware that this was a pretty common thing that you do when you do your videos. Like when you made the Black Lives Matter narrative, I have to assume you must have contacted a bunch of Black Lives Matter, big wigs or whatever, try to get interviews, and then eventually you were able to get some, and then you recorded the interviews, and you weren't live streaming them, but they still kind of have like the Mr. Girl interview flavor, you know?
Yeah, yeah. They feel like awkward live streams.
They do. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's an interesting thing that people should know about your content that I don't think they do.
Yeah. That it's not like I mean, even the Destiny report is those awkward conversations happened. They're not part of it, but they're there. Um, yeah.
Well, and it's
I,
like this wasn't your first time writing something. You know, you've been
no.
writing things for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Often writing things that are critical of the person in power and the system that I'm in. Destiny is the principle.
I think one of the other major through lines that I see throughout your work, as I've just kind of been pouring through this stuff for the past couple weeks, is that you make deliberate steps to not to avoid telling the viewer what to think. What you normally do is it's kind of like you throw the ball up, you know, the ball is like all the data, information, etc. And then you really like leave it up to the reader to try to like hit the ball and take it where they want it to go.
Yeah.
Do you
I
think sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying for a I don't want to tell people what to think. I want to tell them what I think, and I want to tell them why I think it. And it's a fine line, and maybe I'm not good at it, but that's what I'm trying to do. I want you to know what I think and why I think it and how I think, and then you make your own decision.
we go. Sorry, I'm back. I heard everything that you said.
Nice.
Why do you make such an effort to avoid telling the viewer what to think?
Because it's empty. Because they don't actually think it. If you just convince them, it doesn't mean anything. Then they just like you. They don't actually believe what they're saying they believe. They just like you. And that's partisanship. That's the opposite. I don't want people to like me. I want people to like me, but I don't want that to be their primary engagement with my content. Because then we're not having a conversation. If you're gonna just go along with whatever I say because it's me, then we're not talking about anything. We're just talking about how great I am, which is not interesting, and it's meaningless.
You announced that there would be a sequel to the Requel video, and eventually a mashup was released using scenes and music from Saw, with screenshots of Dr. K's face on it. Was this a real release? Why did you release this? What was the intent?
What do you mean, was it a real release? What does that fucking mean?
It means what it
That's
means.
the video.
What?
That's the video.
Why did you release it?
I wanted to show that Dr. K farms people's trauma in a short, digestible, and entertaining video.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, look.
That's fair.
No. That's kind of a post hoc rationalization. That's true, but I did it because I just thought of it, and I was like, oh, this is what I should make.
Like you just did more for fun.
No, it's not fun. It wasn't fun to make.
Okay. In the video cookie clicker, you compare your YouTube channel to the video game Cookie Clicker, which is an AFK resource game about generating cookies and thus income. Towards the end of the video game, you can just leave it open and the cookies will generate with no input. You say that in some ways your YouTube channel had gotten to the end game of Cookie Clicker, generating clicks, likes, subscriptions without you having to provide much input. Did the cookie clickerification of your channel change how you felt about your work and your channel?
I think it made me feel more responsible. I think the money made me feel more responsible for the events occurring in Destiny's sphere.
What do you mean by that?
It's like stumbling into a child labor like factory and getting paid a ton of money to be like the foreman and whipping the children. And being like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And they're like, well, here's another $10,000. And you're like, that is a whole lot. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I've never. I think one month I made like $13,000, and I was like, wow.
Fuck. It's a good chunk.
I know. I was like, I can't fucking believe I have to give Jimmy $1,300. I want to kill myself. No, it was a lot of money. I was like, holy shit. I can figure this out. There's a way to do that. I remember talking to Shaylin and her being like, I don't think this is good for you. And me being like, Don't. I can make it good for me. I just have to figure out how to healthily engage with being abused. I have to figure I can figure this out. And yeah. She was just like we get in fights. And in the middle of the fight, she would be like, "You should quit streaming. Just quit streaming. I would fucking do anything for you to quit streaming." And I'd be like, "This has nothing to fucking do with that. You're bad faith. You're strawmanning me."
You did not say that. There's no way. Did you actually say that? You did not debate bro Shaylin, please.
I often. I'd be like, "You sound like one of those fucking retarded hotline callers." And she's like, "You promised me you would stop comparing me to those fucking retards." We have had several exchanges, literally exactly like that. I have accused her of strawmanning me. I have accused her of, I haven't used the word gish gallop, but I've thought it. I have accused her of being bad faith several times. Yeah, she's like, "Stop." Yeah, she gets really upset. It happened more though, obviously, when I was in it. So how has it affected my content? Is it a real release? What the fuck is wrong with you?
No, wait. Cookie Clicker is obviously a real release. Recful 2.
So is the Dr. K video.
Recful 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's fun.
I don't know if that was...
It is.
It's like when your favorite director makes just a really shit movie. You kind of just forget that they made that one.
Well, I know that you don't like it. That's fine. But is that what we're talking about?
We're not anymore. What are some strategies to help creators not get sucked into the good feelings?
I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about whether you think any of these things are good or bad.
Good.
And I especially don't want to talk about it with I especially don't want to talk about it with you smuggling it into the question and asking passive aggressive questions. I can't stand passive aggressiveness anymore.
Low tolerance for that, huh?
Yeah, I've hit my limit.
What are some strategies to help creators not get sucked into the good feelings of getting passive views, likes, and subs?
Spend time with people who care about you and who you care about, who are not YouTubers or Twitter users and who don't give a shit.
That seems pretty solid.
Yeah, I think don't lose sight of what's actually important in life.
Was the Real Doll review just the spiritual successor to the "Your orgasm is not my responsibility" video?
I reject your loaded question. I reject your quest statement.
Was there ever did you use any knowledge from I just want to know. My opinion is that I watched the "Your Orgasm is Not My Responsibility" video. Obviously this was way after I'd watched the Real Doll review. I just thought it was really interesting. It has a lot of similar threads between the two videos. Yeah.
It does. I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with your statement.
I personally find the Real Doll review to be one of the most terrifying things that I've ever seen in a really good way. It was very cinematically interesting. The way that I felt while I was watching it was surreal. My impression was this is if someone were to make a movie and basically it's from the POV of a murdered corpse being dragged around by a necrophile. This is what this movie would look like.
Yeah. I don't want you to evaluate my work.
Not even if it's a positive one.
Right.
What is your inspiration for the cinematography of the Real Doll Review?
I don't know. Probably just every movie I've watched in general. I didn't have a specific cinematographer I was aping.
The Destiny Report is an over 100,000 word long document detailing Stephen Bennell II's history of abuse in the space that we all know today as online pool. The thesis: Stephen is guilty of these 4 main infractions. Number 1, unequal sexual relationships. Number 2, retaliation. 3, sadism. And 4, narrative control. If you had to elevator pitch to someone why they shouldn't associate with Destiny, what would you say to them?
He hurts people for money and fun. And when you take that money, you're hurting them too. That's the best case scenario. Worst case is you become one of the people he hurts for money and fun.
Has Destiny done anything that you think is illegal?
Yeah. Illegally, he lives in a 2-party consent state. So secretly recording people's conversations is illegal. Threatening to release Anna's nudes is blackmail. That's illegal. Threatening to release damaging information about Bob 7 if he tries to defend himself. The nuke, that's illegal. That's blackmail. Extortion. Yeah, I think those are the only crimes I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But I think those are illegal to do. Yeah.
In the Who Am I section, you leave out one of your finest works, Reckless. Why?
I don't know. I probably shouldn't have. But what I was thinking is I need to disclose. I think what it is that I need to disclose upfront everything that the reader is going to either encounter immediately on Twitter, or in the report itself. So when people are calling me a rapist, or people are calling me a pedophile, or people are whatever, I want to give some context for why is it that everyone can be really friendly and accepting to me and warm when I first enter Destiny's orbit, but then later, with no new information, brand me a, narcissistic sex monster. So I wanted to just provide the context necessary for the reader to trust me. Like what I said earlier, I'm not trying to sell you on something. I'm trying to tell you who I am and how I think and why I think what I think. So I want the reader to be informed that this is not a normal journalism situation where I'm taking on the kind of default unbiased voice. It's very much my voice, and I want you to understand the that context of, like, sometimes I say things like those 11-year-olds were hot. And also, I want you to know that because I'm willing to say things like that, it's also I'm signaling I am willing to look really bad to say something that I think is true. Whether that's on YouTube as a whole or in public as a whole, in my high school, in my college, in my family, in my friend group, in my relationship, or in Destiny's sphere. And I want the reader to understand, like, when someone says, oh, no, he said he was a pedophile, I want them to understand that that's the same thing. It's just the same thing over and over. It's me saying the thing that I think is true for what I believe to be a good purpose and a artistic purpose, and other people reacting and condemning it. And Reckless just felt like there's nothing to be like ashamed of there. The purpose was to disclose the things that are going to make me look untrustworthy. And I didn't think Reckless. It didn't even occur to me to include it.
Hi, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question or the answer to the question? I had audio fuck up.
The whole thing.
Just the answer. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
The short version is I was trying to be economical in disclosing things that make me look bad and like a untrustworthy, biased narrator. So I want people to understand the weird, bad shit I've said and to have a context for understanding why people are going to be saying awful things about me throughout the report. And I didn't think Reckless really fit that description. It just didn't seem like relevant to making those disclosures.
Right. Okay. Sorry. The second question though, like, do you feel like Reckless has like affected your credibility with your audience, other streamers, professionals?
Oh, I didn't even hear you say that.
I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah.
Affected my credibility?
It could be positive or negative. I'm just curious. Like, do you feel like you've maybe boosted some areas, reduced in others? I'm curious, like, what your read is on it.
I don't know. People signal about my credibility, but I don't know. I don't know. Like, again, XQC saying I'm ontologically evil. Does that mean anything? Does he like? Does that affect me? Is that really what he thinks? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think I can really judge that. I don't have a sense of that. I have no idea what my credibility is like. I know that my sense is that when it comes to like talking to academics and professionals, that they immediately find me credible. Just in general. That feels like what I experience. So credibility among streamers and their fans, I don't give a shit.
Taste.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, my family, friends, and fans have consistently said, "Oh, Max." 3 months into my relationship with Shaylin, by which time I'd already freaked out everyone she knew, a childhood buddy of mine told her, "It's a mistake to assume he enjoys it. He doesn't. If you don't enjoy this, what calls you to do it?"
I don't know. People are just afraid of me. That's what I was saying about that rape in the alley thing. People who are just trying to have a normal day and ignore their coworker who got raped, which is most people, hate me and are terrified of me. But then when you're the one who got raped, you want to talk to me. And my content, and I guess like I am very appealing to the person who like wants to really talk about something awful. And Shaylin is one of those people. And then the people in their life who are like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about this stuff. They hate me. So like I enjoy being me to some extent, but I don't enjoy being constantly ostracized. It's very painful.
One of the sections of the article was the Sam story, where Destiny kicked off a mayoral campaign due to some bad press that he was getting. A portion of the report reads, Stephen lamented the fact that despite having broadcast thousands of hours of himself talking, he is still held up to such a standard that if I've ever said anything or done anything, I get crucified for it. It really disappoints me that I have to constantly defend and relive and deal with the worst things I've said throughout the history of my existence. Do you ever feel this way about your content?
No.
Really?
Yeah, the Cuties review is my baby. I would never abandon my baby.
Interesting.
That's the main one, right? What do people? The Cuties review, the doll review, screaming at Shaylin in the parking lot, and the coronavirus vlog. Those are like the big ones.
Consent thing.
Oh yeah, the Tinder story.
Transgender people.
Transgender people. Yeah. No, that's me. Like I'm not gonna. No, I don't feel that way. I said it because I want you to talk about it. I want you. Like it's annoying when people are calling me Mr. Rape. Like I'm like you're fucking stupid. But it's not. I'm not like I don't want to relitigate or relive my worst moments. Me disclosing those things are some of my best moments. They're some of my most honest moments.
What steps would Destiny have to take to be redeemed for his past transgressions?
Redeemed morally or like with my view of ethics and streamer land?
Let me think about this for a second. Okay, all right, so maybe a better question to ask before this is, what do you think streamers should do now that they've read your report with Destiny? Or people in general, what should they do after they read this? How should they assess their relationship with Destiny?
Streamers who know, like who? Let's use an example.
Let's say Stardust. How should Stardust reassess her relationship with Destiny? Should she still pop in his live chats, with all the other people there? Should she take more steps to distance away from Destiny? Because
what's her goal? I don't think Stardust cares. She should care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I get there's so many. Like erudite is not so erudite is the mental health person who gives advice about mental health and stuff on her streams. She should confront Destiny or leave.
Because she should know better?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've established that, so what steps would Destiny have to take for you to be like, you know what, Erudite, I think he's done his time.
Yeah.
Maybe you would be able to forgive him too, in that instance,
No.
No.
Never. No. Forgive him like personally? No, you can't send your cultists after me and my family and be forgiven. We're done forever.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, it's a good policy. Now, if you're saying okay, I think he's being ethical now. Yeah, he could do that. But on a my personal feelings about Destiny are different from my ethical assessment of him.
I think one of the stated goals that you had about the article was that you would, you'd like people, like Lex Friedman's editor or people that would book Destiny onto places, right? That they'd be able to read this and be like, I don't think I want someone that has done this to represent me or my brand or whatever.
Yeah. You should know who you're rubbing shoulders with.
I have to
I'm
assume that
curious
like
to see if
yeah,
I'm curious to see if Lex Friedman will keep working with him after that. Is he still going to be popping into the subreddit to farm that sweet DGG karma, or is he going to take a few steps back? I don't know. He should.
it's your opinion that people should take a step back from Destiny. So I guess my main question
no,
is
not
sorry.
everyone, depending on who they are. Like again, Stardust. It's hard to say Stardust should because Stardust doesn't give a shit. She openly doesn't give a shit about like how her content affects other people. She is kind of like him in that way. Like she doesn't care. She doesn't take any responsibility for the content she makes and doesn't want to. That's part of her brand. Is like proclaiming that she has no responsibility. So it's hard to say that like she should or shouldn't. But Lex Friedman, given his, mission statement,
Okay.
or
That's
like
fine. So let's
his
stick to him
brand,
then. Like so what
Okay.
steps would he have to take to
Destiny.
maybe be like, yeah, Destiny. What steps would Destiny have to take for you to be like, you know what, Lex Friedman's business person, I think he's paid his due. You can have him back on the show.
It's not about paying his due. It would just be about reform. I don't want Destiny to be punished. Oh, well, personally, I hate him, so I do. But ethically, that's not. I'm not calling for that. I don't think he should be punished. That's what I mean. I don't think that's like right. I'm pretty anti-punishment. I think he
Right.
I think he should just bring himself into compliance. To do that, I don't know. I've done my best to try to figure out how to do that. So open inbox, no private communication with fans, no private communication more than is necessary with orbiters, or people you have like a lot of power over. Don't fuck orbiters. Don't fuck fans. When people signal that they're in distress, don't direct your audience to harass them. Don't retaliate. No retaliation whatsoever. Using your platform, even if you think the person really, 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 really deserves it, you don't have any other choice, and the only way that you can stop them from DDoSing you is to kill their father. Whatever your fucking pathetic excuses are for abusing your power, no retaliation. Oh, I'm supposed to just let them talk about me? Yeah. Bitch. Yes. Yeah. No, so that's a big one. Stop lying. Lying leads to a lot of this stuff. Stop being so controlling. No blacklisting. I think those are the big ones.
Do people have any idea what it's like to be a live streamer if they aren't one?
I don't think so. There's a lot of double speak about online harassment and negative attention. And the double speak is like, oh, Instagram is destroying young women's lives. It makes them kill themselves and have eating disorders. Log off, bro. Just log off. Further double speak. I'm going to spend all my time, not all my time, a lot of my free time, hours, let's say 12 hours per week, watching this content. But then when someone gets hurt in the content, I say, who cares? It's just the internet. It's just online stuff. The internet being the primary place of public human communication, commerce, discourse, entertainment. But then when someone's getting hurt, the internet is for nerds, dude. Touch grass. So I think people are really close to being able to understand what it's like to be an online content creator. But the second that has implications for what Destiny should and shouldn't be able to do to other people, then suddenly they seem to forget a lot of their own arguments and stances. So I think you have all of the information, even if you're not a streamer, available to you to understand like you've had somebody make a negative comment about you at some point on social media. So you understand taking that feeling but multiplying it by about 10 million. You know what that would be like. So you could figure it out, but a lot of people don't want to.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've stabbed a nail through my hand, but I don't know if I don't know if I could picture like a thousand nails being stabbed through my body, even though I felt myself be stabbed once. Like I feel like there's some element to this where it's like you literally cannot know what it's like to get fucked with by 1,000 people until you're fucked with by 1,000 people.
That's true. I mean, you even see people will complain about me or Lav or I'm trying to think who else people say this about kicking the hornet's nest. Uh, even if you've been through it, there's an insidiousness to the harassment that makes you think, even if you've experienced it, you're like, it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. It is really bad.
It's like from like cooking the hornet's nest is the best content too, that most people watch.
Yeah, yeah, they want you to be daring and bold, but I think I said this about Destiny on my last hotline, where you can, if you can throw someone else at the hornet's nest, then you get the best of both worlds. You get the entertainment of the freak out, the daring boldness, but then also, you know, your streamer is protected. So then you just have this like mill of hornets eating other people, stinging other people to death on your stream.
I can say as a fan of online poll, sometimes I like watching people get thrown into the hornet's nest. Sometimes it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
How do you,
watching people self-destruct is pretty entertaining.
I mean, it's horrible, but it's also pretty damn entertaining. Do you
Yeah.
how does enjoying that type of content say something about someone who enjoys the type of content?
Yeah.
What does it say about them?
That you could be more empathetic.
Do you think it is worth it for new content creators to enter the online politics meta as it stands today?
If you're a sociopath. I think my entrance was probably the best case scenario. I debuted to 500 concurrent viewers. Held it for a year. Left on my own terms. Made a bunch of money. It's what everybody wants when they go on Destiny's stream. I think I had exactly what I became his friend. I got everything everybody wanted. And I, at great cost to myself, walked away and threw a Molotov cocktail into the window of the space as I left. So, given that, I want to say no. It's not worth it. The best case scenario still isn't worth it. So, no. Start your own thing. You don't need Destiny. You don't need these fucking sociopathic sick people. Just start your own. Just find people around your size or maybe a little bigger and just talk to them. You don't need to invite these people to your party.
Something that I think about is like what would happen if, you know, like I blew up to having like 1 million subscribers in like a week or some magic occurrence happens and I'm a 1 million subscriber YouTuber. Like how
Yep.
do I engage with all my like little homies that I've been getting an online poll since I started after that?
Carefully.
Right.
If you're I'm sure if you're trying to be ethical, you'll do okay. Like, if you look at the shit Destiny did in the report, it's not the kind of shit you do by accident.
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort goes into some of those stories. There's a lot of deliberate planning and scheming and execution that I don't know. I don't think you're going to accidentally become Destiny.
Is Hollywood exploitative? Most people would
Yeah.
say like, duh,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Some would say it's built into the premise of moving to LA and trying to make it big, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, you know, an actor, screenwriter, or cameraman that's a fucking waiter or an Uber driver on the side too, right?
I did those things myself
Totally.
in Hollywood.
Do you think that there are parallels with this with streaming?
Yeah.
But it's more like enough time hasn't passed where people are like, oh yeah, like obviously LA is a fucking cesspit, you know? Like for me personally, I'm at this point where I'm just like, yeah, streaming's a cesspit. Like, obviously.
Yeah, but that even saying that, that's not even the last phase. That's not time's up. You say that before time's up. Time's up is it can't be a cesspit anymore. It's not enough to just say, "Oh yeah, that's so terrible." Because even when you say that, when you say, "Oh, yeah, of course, Destiny's terrible." Oh my god, you're enabling it still. You're accepting it. He still gets to do whatever he wants, and you're gonna call him a user or a gladiator. Oh no. What a horrible thing to be called. That's still just accepting the status quo. Time's up and Me Too is when you say it's a cesspit and we need to do something about it. And that, even from Destiny's harshest critics in his orbit, now Counterpoints, being the latest, it's still controlled opposition because there's no and we need to do something about it. It's we need to say something about it. That doesn't do much. It's not going to change anything. So Hollywood now, I would say is a lot safer than it was a few years ago.
Definitely.
I mean, the Me Too thing happened while I was still living there, and I as a trainer, I had clients who were producers and musicians in the entertainment industry, and there's a palpable feeling of like, oh, we have to actually watch what we're doing now.
Yeah, I think the Me Too movement was probably a net good overall. And in probably all aspects of life, like even just being a waiter and how you engage with your coworkers, you know, there kind of was like an added emphasis, you know, these are dual
Yeah, it
relationships
gets
that
people.
you need to keep
It's not just
separate.
Hollywood. It's got
Yeah.
people thinking everywhere. Yeah.
How do you think the people are rewarded when participating in online politics?
Okay, Me Too provides, and Time's Up provides structure.
Mhm.
Hollywood relationships are business relationships that are not structured. And the lack of structure allows you to abuse your power for gain and sex, non consensual sex, and get away with it because of the lack of structure. And streaming is very similar, where people will defend Destiny. I'll point out a power structure, and they'll say no, it was never formally acknowledged to be there. And I'm like, yeah, of course it wasn't. That's the point. That's how he gets away with it. Is by there never being a formally acknowledged or talked about structure. And that leaves the space rife for abuse. It's part of the reason why you ask me, if you're my orbiter, I say yes. It's not fair to you to say, who knows? What is an orbiter anyway, you know? because then I can fucking do whatever I want to you. I'm calling you my orbiter to say that I think that everything I said about Destiny and how he treats people and how he should treat people also applies to you and me. And that everything I implied or said in the Destiny report about ethical boundaries and what he can and can't get away with applies to you and me.
Is it possible to know who your true allies are when engaging in this online political space?
Wait, you asked me another question about if people what benefit they get from engaging, and are you moving on from that?
I feel like I kind of get what you're getting at.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the benefits fueled by whether or not you're wanting to engage in these, like, unequal relationships, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So
So, yeah.
allies?
Yeah, is it possible to, like, figure out who real allies are when you're engaging in this space?
Not for me.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm naive. Who the fuck
Should it
is
be
that?
this hard?
Who
Oh,
is that?
sorry, it's my girlfriend over there on the side.
Okay.
Sorry, do you hear clicking?
I hear throat clearing.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just curious.
Okay. Did what do you think is unique about you that everybody kind of circled around to not like you?
To not like me?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like me?
Maybe at least publicly, you know? Like, I mean, we've definitely seen a huge rally against you by
Since
all the
November?
Destiny. Yeah. All the Destiny orbiters. I don't know. I'm hard pressed to name.
I'm
Sorry.
the party pooper.
Yeah, like I'm hard pressed to think of like an ally that you currently have in the online politics space at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not that I don't think it's anything personal. I think they wouldn't like anybody who said like this whole thing is, well, it's two things. One is they don't like that I'm calling them victims and abusers at the same time. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that, like, oh, the way you've been running this space is like awful and exploitative and abusive, and you're all complicit. Nobody wants to be told that. But second, you get a lot of clout and not warm, acceptance from Destiny and his fans. Look at Ukrainian Anna
Yes.
on Twitter. She's like fundraising for the war in Ukraine, right?
Okay.
Right?
I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, my friend is a sniper and he needs this like scope or something. So everybody help me buy four-wheelers and stuff. Like she's like fundraising. Those tweets about like the war effort in Ukraine get like a third of the engagement as her tweets about me. So literally, she is helping to fund the war against Russia by calling me a cunt on Twitter. And I've never talked to her. I've never interacted with her, and she called me an entitled cunt. That is like the most direct window I can give you into. She doesn't fucking know me. She probably doesn't know anything about me. She's just directly getting paid, or I guess one step removed, getting paid to talk shit about me. So who the fuck knows if any of these people actually have a real problem with me? I don't know.
Did you ever have a desire to change the online political space in a more positive way while you were inside of it?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to set norms and make conversations interesting. It's so boring. I wanted
Super
to bring
boring.
in, yeah, that's super boring. I wanted to bring in people aren't even pretending to be engaged politically. They just like talk about nothing. So I wanted to collaborate with Destiny to kind of revitalize things. and make things more ethical. I did.
What's your opinion of Brianna Wu
My
and her
opinion of
recent
Brianna
engagement?
Wu.
Sorry.
My opinion of Brianna Wu is pretty negative. Feels like she's just doing what I just described. You know,
Kind of like Ukrainian
getting
Anna got the
like
clout.
Ukrainian Anna. Yeah, doesn't feel genuine to me.
While you have publicly stated that you are leaving the Destiny orbit, are you staying
Mhm.
inside of online politics still to fix it?
I don't think to fix it. I think I like talking to other streamers. So I do my orbiter, I mean my expert interviews and stuff. And those discussions can be fun. But there is something nice about a looser conversation. Like you and I, we all know the same people, we know the same events, we can refer to shit. Um there's trust because we know each other. Uh um I like that. So I don't want to stop talking to streamers totally. I think a lot of my complaints about streamers before were probably pretty specific to Destiny's sphere. So I do want to keep, um, I want to keep the door open to making content with other streamers and discussions and panels and stuff. I would like to do that. I like to do some more moderating. I think I enjoy moderating, and I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's more there. So no, I don't want to leave like talking to other streamers about politics now. I think I'd like to create kind of a more independent of, I guess, independent of Destiny, independent of any one giant figurehead community of people who um, talk about this shit.
Like, so there is some. It's like even you're slightly susceptible to the enjoyment of the parasocial relationships spent by engaging with other like online content creators.
I don't think it's parasocial.
Why?
Because we actually know each other. I don't think like your relationship with me is not imaginary. We're actually talking to each other. It's not like you. Parasocial is like a lopsided relationship where that's like in your head, but like we actually know each other. So I wouldn't call it parasocial.
Okay, fair. I guess it's kind of like if there's always these power dynamics, you know, always.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on basically size or how much audience you can get. I don't know, like how do we ever engage with each other ethically if we're different sizes?
Carefully.
Just be really careful.
I have to be really careful. You have to be careful with people who come up through your community. I have to be careful with people who come up through mine.
It's kind of just like when you're a content creator and you're responsible for the community that you breed.
Yeah.
Obviously, greater size is greater responsibility.
Yeah.
Have you felt any sense of like betrayal from some of the people that you've like engaged with in online politics? And maybe you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but how do you felt like, you know,
Chud
if you
logic.
did feel this, fair, same. How do you feel like you've dealt with kind of some of this stuff?
Just hurting. I don't know. I don't think there is a way to deal with it. What do you mean by dealt with?
Um, well, like I mean specifically with Chud Logic, I mean like he's a huge chunk of this community, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a bummer when you're kind of ostracized from that side of the internet, you know? At least if you care about online politics, like he's like you know, I don't know, he's like TMZ, you know, everybody goes to him for the drama, you know.
If he came out and said, I'm never going to work with Destiny again because he's an abusive person and Max was right, what do you think happens to his viewership?
It'd probably take a hit.
How big?
Most likely. Fuck. How big would it be? I'd want to say between 30 and 50%. He's kind of like peaking right now in viewership. Like the 1200 every stream viewership, like I don't think that's going to stay. But like when he's sitting at like 600ish or 700ish viewers, I feel like that there's actually a good chunk of that that's like just his audience that would stay.
Yeah.
I think so. I think he would like still be bigger than you if he like did what you did. Maybe. Do you have advice to new streamers or content creators that want to talk about politics or sensitive topics online?
Not really advice, just I think it's sadistic to revel in the discomfort that you cause by talking about sensitive issues. They're sensitive to people for a reason. And just because they're not sensitive to you or your audience doesn't. I don't know. I think it's kind of shitty to get an audience that's desensitized to a particular issue, say like trans stuff. You're conservative, your audience is not, no one's trans, no one knows anyone who's trans, nobody cares, and then you just mock trans people because it's safe. And then you can farm the outrage of people who are not in and never are going to be part of your audience. I think that's wrong. So I guess my advice is don't monetize the pain of other people by talking about sensitive things insensitively.
How do you feel about prank YouTubers? They're like going to malls and shit and then like start stuff up.
I think there is going to be new norms about that where the average person still doesn't seem to understand that they're being used as props in other people's videos. You know, I think the ultimate example is somebody who just screams in the middle of a restaurant and everybody's like, "Oh my god, like what's wrong with that person?" And it's like, "No. You're the person being laughed at. This person has like 10 million TikTok followers. The video is about you and the stupid face you're making. Because you don't know what's going on. That weird thing of like just teleporting. It's like you're teleporting 10 million people into a restaurant all of a sudden, and now we're all laughing at you, and like you're just sitting there trying to have fucking dinner. I think it's shitty. That's
Yeah.
shitty. That's my answer.
I agree.
It's
Fuck those
exploitative.
guys.
You're just exploiting random people on the street. I don't think you should do that.
Yeah. Just all content. It's just maybe I feel like not exploiting people is a pretty good baseline for anything that you do, right? If you can't, don't do it.
Yeah.
What are your future plans for content outside of the report?
Zootopia. I don't know. My audience really wants me to review Zootopia. I've never seen it. Maybe I'll review it without watching it. That's a joke. I think my NFT video I've been working on for a long time. Or I haven't been working on it, but I started it a year ago, a year and a half ago. The pedophile narrative. But you know I'm banned from YouTube.
Fuck it.
It just changes the video. Like I can put it on Rumble.
Like
But it
Sneako's getting insane viewership over there, doing goofy ass shit that's super controversial. I feel like you could do it. I'm
yeah,
curious
I
why
guess.
it's like not on your radar. Like why you're not just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna put it on Rumble.
Because I'm fucking heartbroken, man. I put so much effort into that YouTube channel.
Is like there's a part of you that's holding out, hoping that you're gonna get unbanned so you can put it on YouTube
I
along
probably
with the
will get
rest of your
unbanned.
babies.
Do you think I'll never get unbanned from YouTube for the rest of my life?
I hope not. It just seems like they've been really fucky over there with the weird shit that they've been doing with banning
I know,
people
but
and
like, won't they? But aren't they? Like, I don't know.
yeah.
It's not. It's not. I'm not holding out hope. It's just literally that I don't know. So like, if you told me you're gonna get unbanned from YouTube in 6 more months, then I would say, okay, I'll do the pedophile narrative. Then I'll make a fucking rap album now. I don't know. There's other shit I want to do. I'll make a rap album. I'll do another Substack thing. I'll make like a podcast thing, and then then I'll do the pedophile narrative. Then it's just hard to make decisions when I don't. I like. I. I don't know. I'm so fucking tired of everybody banning me. It's so annoying. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know when. I work on content a lot, so something will come out. I just don't know in what order. I want to make a video game. Oh, that's the other thing. If you told me I wasn't gonna get unbanned from YouTube for like a year, then maybe I'll spend a year making a game. Maybe I'll make a movie. You know, like there's a lot of projects I want to make, and I think my audience would be interested to see me make any of them, and would probably fund partially or entirely something like that. So maybe I would do a long form thing, but I don't know. I
I think
think I'll
that's it.
upload the Black Lives Matter narrative to Rumble,
Oh yeah,
and
I forgot. None of that is on Rumble, huh? It's
none of
all
it's
on
on Rumble.
Odyssey.
So yeah, somebody told me like you should be uploading this shit. So like I'll try that and see what happens. Um, if it gets like 150 views, then that will definitely factor into my decision about whether I want to put like 2 months of work into a Rumble video.
I'm under the assumption that the way that you're currently most monetized is like through Patreon and viewer donos through live stream subscriptions, things like that, you know?
Yeah,
So stuff
and
that's
rap,
not
and
and
Spotify rap.
oh, the Spotify rap music.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like you're even if you make a video and put it on some bullshit source, like you're still going to be making money off of it.
Yeah, the patrons I don't think are gonna leave if I make a if it doesn't get a lot of views. Like yeah, I think okay, the people who donate to me monthly, uh which I currently can live off of. Some of them just want to see the content. And they're okay with like they would be okay with me only putting it on Patreon. But a lot of them, I think, believe in the mission of trying to change the world. And they want to put fuel in my spaceship. We have to go out into the world. And I don't think they or I have a sense that is happening if nobody watches or talks about what I make. So I'm in a weird position where a lot of people know who I am. Like, I think a lot of people know who I am at this point. And would watch a YouTube video I made, and a lot of them might watch a Rumble video, and a lot of them might watch a Twitter video or tweet or something. A lot of them would probably play a game I made. It's just a matter of like figuring out the right. It's all about the format. Well, it's about figuring out the right format to get my projects like talked about.
Final question.
Okay.
Are you still a vegan porn enjoyer only?
Yep. Yep. I've not watched porn with human beings in it since I said that. I think I just like illustrated porn more than deep fakes, because the AI shit is it all feels the same after a while. I think it'll improve vastly probably in the next like couple months, but right now it's a little repetitive.
Do you foresee a future where the majority of the content, the adult content, is vegan?
I do. I think once you get to the point where you can just type in an idea for a porn and then it'll just make it with sound, video, everything, which I don't think is super far off, then there'll be some people who are really good at making prompts, but I think most porn will just be DIY.
Well, all right. I think that's it for me, Max. I appreciate you. Thanks for the interview.
You're welcome.
Is there anything you'd like to say, I guess, before we go?
No.
Okay. Have a good one, Max.
You too, Will.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was that, gang. Like, comment, subscribe. Shoot your boy some money if you think I deserve it. Otherwise, you guys have a lovely rest of your night.